No, you're good.
That would be awful. Yeah, fine.
No, I wouldn't do that to you. Okay.
Do you need to do a clap, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me know when you're rolling on it.
We're rolling on it.
All right, great.
Okay, oops. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, we good?
We're good to go.
All right.
Start whenever.
Thanks for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me.
So let's talk about your Senate race. Ohio is going to be a big state for Senate control this year. Talk about where Ohio fits in the map and why it's important for Republicans to get control of the Senate.
Well, Republicans need to take control of the Senate to save this country, because the Democrats are going to take this country off a cliff. And it's not the traditional Democrats, it's these lunatics on the far extreme like Sherrod Brown and AOC and Elizabeth Warren. So that's why it's important for us to take control of the United States Senate, especially with President Trump in the White House. Because Trump is in the White House and Chuck Schumer's a majority leader, nothing can get done. In terms of how Ohio fits in the equation, it's very simple. I win my race, Republicans control the United States Senate. Sherrod Brown, heaven forbid, gets elected for 6 more years after 50 in elected office, then Chuck Schumer's a majority leader.
What does a Republican Senate do? What would the priorities be?
We've laid it out in the platform. It's a 20-point platform. I would encourage your viewers and readers to read it. It's very simple. It's common sense. We're going to have a safe and secure border. Immigrants like myself will be allowed to come into this country legally, not illegally, because bringing people here illegally is insane. We're going to make certain we lower prices. So when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the restaurant, when you go to the gas station, when you go to pay your rent, your credit card bills, we're going to lower the cost of average everyday things. We're going to make certain that we unleash American energy, that we become a dominant energy power, that we're not going to, as JD said, some tin pot dictator asking him for oil or energy. We're going to do that here. And we're going to make certain that we have peace and stability around the world. That's the essence, the platform of the Republican Party.
Do you feel like the assassination attempt against President Trump last weekend changed your race, changed just the general tenor of these down ballot races?
I think it changed the trajectory of what we could have gone if he hadn't moved his head. I think if President Trump had been assassinated, we'd be living in incredibly dangerous times, not just in America, around the world. So thank God, and I do believe it was God that intervened in that saved him so he could save America. And the reality is, we got here because the far left has been pushing a narrative that President Trump's a danger to democracy, that he's the reincarnation of Hitler. And so a mentally deranged person like the shooter thought maybe he was doing the world a favor by eliminating the new Hitler. That has got to stop. We can disagree on policies, but stop vilifying each other. And mostly it's, of course, the media and the far left that vilifies President Trump. They've done it for 8 years. They need to stop. They need to repudiate that language.
Is that kind of blame, finger pointing in the wake of this assassination? Is that productive dialogue given where we're at this point?
Sure. You can't go forward until you have something that causes you to say, hey, we're not going to do this anymore. I was, on the way here, was watching a video in which Kamala Harris joked about the idea of killing President Trump. She just did that. So she was on the Ellen show. So yes, you have to repudiate that. You say, listen, I'm out of line, shouldn't have done that, we're not going to do that anymore. We're gonna have an argument and an open discussion on ideas. That's what America is all about. We should be able to do that. But the far left hasn't been yet willing to do that. I mean, Joe Biden called for unity in the country and a toning down of the rhetoric, but he himself 2 weeks ago said it was time to put President Trump into bullseye. Sherrod Brown said that President Trump's got to pay a price. Well, he did pay a price, and he should apologize for that language, and then we can move forward in a unifying way, and I think that's what President Trump will talk about tonight.
If Republicans gain control of the Senate, do you pass a national abortion ban? I know that's something that you've talked about in your campaign, a 15-week floor, I think is how you've put it.
Well, I've never called for a ban. That's a concoction of, again, the Democrats and the media. What I've said is that we should focus on the things that we have consensus around with abortion. And what's interesting to me is that the other side, Sherrod Brown, the radicals on the left, think that abortion should be allowed all the way to the moment of birth. And I don't think most people believe that that's logical. So we can't keep using these issues to divide Americans. At the end of the day, Most Americans can agree on 70, 80% of what we need to do, and that's the way we should look. That's the way we should move forward. But we're going to focus on, if I were to get elected and President Trump wins with JD Vance as his amazing vice president, is the things that affect Americans. High prices, open borders, instability all over the world, safe communities, good schools. That's the agenda of the Republican Party.
Since Senator Vance became the nominee for vice president, a lot of stuff from the 22 campaign has come up. There was some references on social media just today about a video that you posted in 2022 criticizing his comments about rape being an inconvenience. Do you stand by that?
JD Vance is going to be an amazing vice president. I am so proud to not only have him as a friend, but one of the greatest moments that I can remember in a long time was being able to second his nomination. He's a good man. He's a really, really good person. And, you know, Democrats don't do primaries. The party bosses decide who's going to be the candidate. You know, people like Allison Russo and Casey Weinstein and the wannabe mayors of Cincinnati and Cleveland, they don't get a chance to run for offices like the United States Senate because they put the tired guy out there because that's what he wants to do. In fact, they're putting Joe Biden out to pasture. The fact that the primary voters selected Joe Biden. The party bosses are going to put somebody else in place. So we have competitive primaries. I think that's a feature, not a bug, of Republicans. We have a variety of opinions in our party, and I think that's good. But at the end of the day, what the world saw last night is what I've seen for 7 years, which is JD Vance is a genuine, authentic, amazing American, and incredibly proud that he's from Ohio, and can't wait to see him as vice president.
So you attribute those comments to just the nature of a competitive partisan primary?
Well, you'd have to ask Kamala Harris if she actually thinks Joe Biden's a racist, because that's what she accused him of in a debate. Yeah, she said that she was the little girl that wasn't able to take the bus to school because of racist Joe Biden. Pointed out that Joe Biden praised KKK members, like legit KKK members that were actually KKK members. Went to their funeral and spoke and talked about how great they were. So Kamala Harris accused him of being a racist, gave exact examples, and then next thing you know, blink, she's the vice president.